Hello, everybody. Welcome back. How you doing? It's Bryan. We're back for a new week of the show. Glad everybody could be here to help, help us on our way. Uh, so, as an update to yesterday, uh, Mr. Betcher and I were on talking about log files and log analysis and such, and uh, I had mentioned more than once that we had a number of people in the chat, and I'd like to thank. Let's see, is he on? Let's see. Easy Sidestep had mentioned, hey, you have a number of chat bots in the Slack in the stream, and I was unaware of that, and I don't know why I wasn't not aware that chat bots were a thing, but apparently it's a big enough issue that there are whole websites and GitHubs dedicated to the removal of those from your account. And of course, you can't do mass banning for some unknown reason. So ended up having to do some late night Googling and GitHubbing to find a small little program that will do bans and unbans, in a mass manner, which worked out fairly well. Looks like it's just a little exe file. I'd like to thank Easy Sidestep for that, helping out with making sure that we don't end up with a hate raid or something weird like that. So yeah, I'm glad we were able to at least head that off. If anybody has a better idea, I have set auto moderation, so if it looks like it's a bot, then they'll block it, or if it tries to send out a bunch of spam at the same time, it'll moderate that stuff. I didn't want to over moderate, because I don't want to, make it so that it's unwieldy, or, as we've talked before, security versus usability. If it's not, usable, then, nobody will use it. And it's kind of an anathema here to Twitch. So, yeah. Yes, Ring Zed. I seen it. I seen this website being used on more than one place. Let me see if I can pull up the GitHub for that. GitHub, Discord, bot, ban. Let me see, where is it? Yeah, you can ban people in your Discord. That wasn't the one I used. I don't know, but see, there's enough of them. White and banned list using Discord bot. So this little program set it up so that. Oh wait, I'm still at 30 frames per second, but I'll turn on the performance mode. There are enough, Discord bots out there apparently that do evil. Even I guess Me6 and Dynabot and all those can be used for evil as well. Actually that dovetails well into the discussion that we might end up having today. We're not going to be doing Try Hack Me. What I wanted to do was I really want to wait for my mentee to show up. I don't want to get too far ahead, and I don't want to get too deep into it. So I do apologize if people are showing up for Try Hack Me. AJ he wants to get started on Wednesday, so I've set him up with Wednesday. We will go through some of that. I may finish up some of the LFI stuff and the RFI stuff, remote file inclusion, local file inclusion stuff tomorrow. But yeah, I managed to ban about 200 bots. A lot of them were starting with like HOSS, like Haas. And I was like, okay, well, that got deleted out. Ring Zed, hey, by the way, thank you for being a first-time chatter. Appreciate that. I do notice that our list is quite a bit smaller this week, or today at least, from yesterday. So we did have a few of those bots in here. So yeah, everybody's a noob, including myself. I've only been doing this for 16 days now, so. It did not even enter into my threat model that, that was a thing. So that just shows you, how much of I just fell off that particular turnip truck. So things have gotten better. But yeah, there's a number of these things out there, banning people in your Discord, not Discord bot. It's, Twitch bot ban. There we go. So yeah, there's a ton of them. Here's an opt-in for, a ban list from September 19th, 2021. There's a ton of stuff out there. So yeah, there's probably even plugins that you can install to make that happen. So, it is what it is. People will use good things for bad or bad things for good. But yeah, I mean, it did come. Oh, yeah, it does. It did come highly recommended. It was a number of people who were believing in it. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. This came into our Blue Team channel today on our Slack, and I put it in our Discord as well about mitigating relay attacks on Active Directory. So let me maximize the font on that. They're saying Microsoft is aware of petty POTAM, which can potentially be used to attack Windows domain controllers and other servers. It's a classic NTLM relay attack, and such attacks have been previously documented by Microsoft, along with numerous mitigation options to protect customers. So there is, yeah. So to prevent relay attacks on networks with NTLM enabled. So let's go and look a little bit on what NTLM relay attacks. So, well, here you go. All right. So, boink, boink, boink. Let's see. NTLM is still supported by legacy systems and applications more than 20 years after NTLM's replacement, Kerberos. Backwards compatibility with legacy Windows systems and applications has kept NTLM and NTLM, I believe, v2 in the fold. Relay attacks allow attackers to sit between clients and servers and relay validated authentication requests in order to access network services. So it's it's a person in the middle attack or interceptor type attack where you have to be sitting in between the clients and the servers. So like a wireless attack. If you're old enough to remember Firesheep, in this case, you could act as a proxy for somebody authenticating to a Wi-Fi access point, give them an access point that is completely, decrypted and be able to sniff their traffic. It's an interceptor attack. It used to be called man in the middle. That's now kind of frowned upon as being either person in the middle or host in the middle is probably a little better because you're technically not you, being you, the meat bag is not in the middle. It's your host. So it'd be a host in the middle type attack. Unlike NTLM, challenge response protocol, Kerberos mutual authentication is considered more secure and has been the de facto standard in Windows since 2000. Let me see, we got 2000. So it goes NT, 2000, XP. If you suffer from PTSD, you might have Windows ME in there somewhere. And then 7, 8, 8.1, 10, and now 11. So it's about 5, 6 versions back. So depending on if you actually, Windows ME was a thing for you. Windows ME was the follow-on, I believe, to Windows 98, but didn't have all the quote-unquote server stuff in it. For a while there, it was 98, ME, and NT in 2000. So Microsoft recommends a number of mitigations for NTLM relay attacks. So NTLM stands for, where is it? NT LAN Manager. So there you go. It's a Windows NT in this case, which is new technology, or NT was NT LAN Manager. So it's a protocol in its third decade of existence and has worked its way deep into enterprise networks. So just in case we're not all aware of acronyms, that's what NTLM stands for. They did have a V2 version, which was arguably more secure than NTLM, but V1 was notoriously bad. So Microsoft recommends a number of mitigations, including SMB shares or Samba, LDAP, which is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, runs on port 389 and 3389 if memory serves. EPA, that's a new one for me. What's EPA? Let's see. Windows EPA. Extended protection for authentication. There you go. So you get into this rabbit hole. You keep going down it. It's like every time they put in a new acronym, they expect you to know what the heck everything is. So, that's me at 3 a.m. trying to, get down to, going down through the rabbit hole here. So, Landman was the older version introduced in the 1990s. It's a challenge response mechanism. It makes use of one or both two two unsalted hashed password values. I believe, I want to say in SANS, when I took my SANS course for GCIH, one of the exercises was to crack a hashed password. And one of the things was if the password was less than 8 characters, like you could always tell because the second hash or the second hash was always the same because it represented like a bunch of zeros. So it was always the same thing. So you could always tell if it was 8 characters or less because the first 8 characters of the password were here. So hello, Cybertech Vibes. What's up? Thank you for following us. I do appreciate you doing so. Oh, Repeller as well. It looks like 4 hours ago, and Cybersec Diva also 15 hours ago. So thank you to all of those people for following us. I appreciate them taking the time and taking a chance. So. If anybody's interested, like I said, we have a Discord. We're trying to get more people on there so we can have conversations and, be able to, spread the wealth and spread the knowledge and spread the information. So if anybody's interested, please let me know. All right. So anyway, this is like one of those stories your grandparents tell you, and it keeps going further and further away. So, just to give you a little background on what, mitigating NTLM relay attacks on Active Directory security services is. So mitigations are primary mitigations. We mentioned EPA, extended protections for authentication, and disabling the HTTP server on your AD certificate services servers. So apparently it runs HTTP inside your environment, which is usually a no-no. But I know they do that for ease of use. They want people to be able to adopt this. Hang on a sec, Mr. Cybertech Vibes. I don't have the workflow in for the Discord yet to be able to get the invite for that. So I will just send an invite out to everybody here for the next couple minutes. All right, so. There's a ton of stuff that I'm still working on. I mean, I just got Patreon connected to Discord. I'm trying to get Discord connected to streams and all that stuff. So there's a lot of integrations there. One of the things is dealing with the integrations of everything that's making sure everybody's connected because everybody expects everything to be nice and polished and ready to go and what have you. So all right, so that is. All right, no limit, 6 hours, 25 uses, generate a link. Okay. So for those of you who are following for the first time, there's a Discord link. Please, click OK to follow and understand the code of conduct. And the bots will let you in and give you access to HallwayCon and all the other channels that we have on there. Newest channel we have now is the mental health channel because that's kind of very important to us. Ms. Berlin does Hackers Health, which brings to light issues with mental health issues in the InfoSec community and elsewhere. Well, not just InfoSec, but that's where we live. It's our space. So information security. So we do that. I'm actually going to be currently helping with B-Side Seattle's mental health village that they're going to be having at Microsoft the 14th and 15th of I want to say April. So if you are in the Seattle area or coming to B-Side Seattle, come by and we'll have a chat. So anyway, so primary mitigation, they recommend enabling extended protection for authentication and disabling the HTTP server. Basically the certificate server runs IIS. So you should go in, enable EPA. It's required being the more secure and recommended option. So they give you a nice screenshot here on how to enable all that. Windows authentication, extended protection required. And then you will enable EPA for the enrollment web service. So you go in and you set all this up. And then, enabling it in the UI. And then let me see. So for more information on the options available for extended protection policy, see the transport of HTTP bindings. So these are the bindings that you would use for that. And it's just an XML file, as we've talked about previously with the web app stuff. XML is just a structured language file that uses things like XSLT, and you can query against it. That's what Ajax, there are certain XML RPCs you can do remote, API calls against that. It's a structured format just like JSON is, but you have to, have some kind of way of displaying it using XSLT or spreadsheet or style sheet or something like that. So enable SSL, which will enable only HTTPS connections. Apparently, the certificate service runs straight non-HTTP. So if you want to do it securely, you have to enable SSL on your IIS. And once you do that, you'll stop all IIS services that are running and restarts them. So that's the primary mitigation for what they were talking about with relay attacks. Without that, without the HTTPS, without the TLS connection that is enabled, ideally you'll either generate your own local cert, which isn't always trusted, or you can use something like Let's Encrypt and get a cert. Now, how that works for an internal server, I'm not exactly sure. But having any kind of SSL connection, if you trust your SSL connection, that's fine. And I don't expect a ton of people to be going in and playing around with your enrollment service or your AD services. So let me see, did they mention only HTTPS connections? You'll need to restart IIS to load the changes, restart IIS, open an elevated command prompt, type in IIS restart. Yeah, so I mean, it's just, turn on SSL or turn on TLS. So yeah, I mean, if you want to do it upright, you'd want to use a proper TLS cert, but there's no hard requirement here. So yeah, was this information helpful? I don't know. I mean, is it like this, or are we doing like, gladiators, like, well, that kind of thing. So, let me see some other items here. I saw this. I thought this was kind of interesting. My wife's, she's getting her doctorate, and it's on discussing why people go to college. Are they aware of the different options of going to college? But this survey or poll that they gave to, what did they say, top metro areas for 1,072 college students who say they want to leave their home state. 2,109 college students conducted in waves from November 18, 2021 to 14 Feb 2022. They did say urban areas, so our metro areas. So, I mean, I don't know how many people outside of big cities they investigated, but looks like a lot of these cities, depending on these are the cities they want to go to after they graduate from college. So number 12, only the Bay Area hit number 12, but Seattle is number 1, which is a bit ironic because we're going to be leaving here in about 14 months to go down to San Diego, which is number 3 for where people want to go and live. Number 2 being, of course, New York. So I was already living in San Diego when I got out. I guess all these Chicago, yeah, that makes sense. Minneapolis, okay. Minneapolis is one of those nice tech hubs. Of course, here's Austin, Dallas, and then Atlanta. Atlanta is another tech hub. So yeah, there's a lot of places with high, of course, yeah, Washington D.C. All the poli-sci folks will graduate from there. Boston, yeah, a lot of these are tech sectors and hubs. So this is Portland over here. Yep. So, and then, what was this? Phoenix? Okay, I can see that too. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these have in common being heavy tech sectors. Seattle, Bay Area, Austin, Atlanta has a lot of banking. I believe some healthcare as well. Of course, New York has everything. Finance, big, huge finance, fintech companies, hedge funds, etc. What was this one? Oh, the DC. Yeah, of course, DC, political, defense contractors out the wazoo. Boston, I don't know what's in Boston. I know Connecticut likes insurance companies quite a bit. Connecticut's a huge insurance company place, but they didn't break this down by security. So I mean, it's any place. But I mean, these are most of the big cities in the United States of note. I mean, I think Miami looks like Miami might be the only outlier here that didn't get added, or maybe San Antonio. Yeah, kind of interesting. I was actually surprised not to see Vegas. Vegas is growing by leaps and bounds. I was told that it was almost un. The people who've lived there are finding it hard to find new. Um, the property prices have gone up just absorbently large. Kind of like up here in Seattle. Weird. Um, we moved up here in 2014. We paid $419,000 for this house, and depending on who you look at, Redfin or Zillow, it's at 1.2 million right now, and we're 40 minutes out of Seattle. So yeah, I mean it's just going crazy. And San Diego's not much different. I mean, but you're paying for living in San Diego at that point, you know. But yeah, Seattle. I mean, it's only going to go up. I expect us to probably clear $1 million too on the house that we have here, and then go down and sell and pay off our house in San Diego. But yeah, I mean the property prices on the West Coast are just obscene. So it is what it is. I mean, I think the only thing we're gonna make sure we do is make sure we don't sell to a hedge fund. I hear that that's maybe some of the reason why the houses are just god awful expensive in various places. They're not selling to people or families. They're selling to hedge funds, or like they're selling to Zillow, and Zillow's artificially inflating the prices. So let me see. Did they give any reasons here? I'm not going to talk about the political affiliations because I don't think people really they're going to live where they want to live. Denver and Boston with top 5 wish list after Seattle. Yeah, healthcare was the top industry choice for careers, so 29%, followed by education, research, and tech, 12%. Okay. Pandemic didn't dictate destination for any of the students interviewed by Axios. The resulting explosion of remote work did shape some of the students' thinking and how far from family they chose to move, and whether work from home is all it was cracked up to be. Okay. Oh, wow. University of Arkansas student wants to be a therapist. Concluded some interactions are simply more effective in person. Okay. 45% they said they want to live somewhere different than they think they will live somewhere else. Okay, so people are making plans. They just don't know if they can actually afford to live in those big cities, which is more likely, yeah. My family has lived in Texas for decades, and the majority of them are not the biggest fans of cold weather. It's true. It's true. Set sight on. He said it. So Harbick, the JMU students from Seattle, says he expects it'll be his second post-college move. He's going to move to Richmond, where he's already accepted a job. Okay. It's just interesting to hear what the future is going to look like for population centers and hubs. So I was already in San Diego, and about 10 years into my career before we decided to move to Austin, and then Seattle, and then back down to San Diego. So we're making the triangle. So before we move along to other stuff, if you live in Australia and you're watching this, I do pity you, because apparently you now have 5 time zones in your somebody had posted this up. So what I thought was funny, and I mentioned it on our Discord today, I was like, you could be in 3 different time zones at once. I mean, you can't even do that in the United States. You can't be in more than 2 at a time. You can be in 3 different time zones here, out in the middle of the outback, right up here, and then right down here. You can be in 3 different time zones, and you I just love the different time zones, because it's half an hour time zones, which make it even worse. I believe in some parts of India they even have like 15 and 45-minute time zones, which I don't understand the idea there, but it is what it is. So yeah, welcome our Australian cousins to 5 time zone hell. So there you go. You could almost be in 4 time zones at once if you could just stretch, make this 8:30 line a little less janky like that. You could almost put the 9 o'clock up here or something like that. But yeah, I just found that interesting how normally only they don't even have a 7 o'clock time zone in out of date time, so it's like 6, 7:30, 8 o'clock. It's weird. Oh well, I'm sure they had good reasons for it. All right. So, and this is an old tweet, of course, from 2016, but apparently it's still legitimate today. So, yeah. Um, but yeah. All right. And of course, they're going into fall. So, fall. Yeah, fall. So that I mean, it's completely reversed for them. Our daylight savings times in the summertime. So, okay. So let me see. Doink. That's something else I'm working on for RPG stuff. Nope. Okay, so Bleeping Computer came out with a news story today, 5:52 p.m. I'm assuming is GMT. Ukraine CERT is warning that threat actors are distributing fake antivirus updates that install Cobalt Strike and other malware. It's nice to see that they're Bleeping Computers calling Cobalt Strike malware, because it is. Phishing emails impersonating Ukrainian officials offering ways to increase network security, and advises recipients to download critical security updates, which come in a form of a 60 meg file called Bitdefender Windows Package.exe. I can't read any of that. I'm assuming, yeah, you see Bitdefender, and it's coming from a place called forkscenter.fr. That sounds legit. The problem is people are actually going to click on this. These emails contain a link to a French site now offline that offers download buttons for the alleged AV software updates. Another site, mirsoft.me, was also discovered by Malware Hunter team to be acting as C2 or command and control for the server for this campaign. So somebody grabbed a screenshot of the offensive website. Yeah. When they run the download and this fake Bitdefender window comes up, you'll be shown a prompt to install Windows Update Package. So there you go. This doesn't even look like, I mean, it's a pretty good reason. It's a pretty good facsimile. I mean, you got Microsoft Corporation 2022, all rights reserved. It looks somewhat like the Windows font. I mean, does it ask for UAC though? Let me see. However, this update downloads and installs 1.exe file from the Discord CDN, which is a Cobalt Strike beacon. Cobalt Strike is a widely abused pen testing suite, penetration testing suite that offers offensive security capabilities, facilitates lateral network movement, and ensures persistence, of course. Yeah, Cobalt Strike was one of those tools that everybody enjoyed, and then all of a sudden the source code got leaked. And then it's all over. Now it's a bad tool. Yeah, I mean, people are also. I was listening to Risky Business, the last version that they just had with. I think they had Bryan Krebs on, and of course Metal Storm and Patrick, but they were talking about Cobalt Strike being sold to companies that are actually fronts for bad actors, and how it appears that there's less than due diligence being done in some cases on the licensing for these things. So if you're a chat bot, because I'm seeing a bunch of users, if you're a chat bot, let me know. Just give me a thumbs up or something. So good God, look at that. Jeez. Yeah, I got a haircut this weekend, so you can see the gray even worse than normal. So, getting old. My birthday's coming up. I'll be 43. So, the same process fetches a Go downloader, which decodes and executes base64 encoded files. So we remember from TryHackMe the base64 encoded files, which is just a Java SDK.exe. So you can base 64 encode anything. Matter of fact, you can, if you're using markup or something, you can actually base 64 encode a picture and put it in if you want to, like, put inline images or something inside your markup. Now, it's going to be a massive value for base 64 encoding if you base 64 encode anything. But it can be done. I mean, it'll just make the size of your text file just be ginormous. So. They've Markdown allows for those things, but it's obviously you want to do something a little different there. But So this file adds a registry entry for persistence, also downloads 2 more payloads, GraphSteel backdoor, which is Microsoft-Cortana.exe. Oh, very nice. Okay, so these look legitimate. So you got Microsoft-Cortana.exe and Grimplant backdoors, Oracle-Java.exe. Man, that's all it takes. These look legit. Would somebody doing a cursory glance at the environment see these and know that these are not legitimate? Dropper.exe, if you see that, you're like, maybe that's not good, that kind of thing. So, okay, I got to figure out why my stuff just keep bouncing around. So apologies to everybody watching my video and not, everything. So let's make this a little bigger so we can see what's going on here. Static void. Okay, so web client download file. So it's doing the file download from, looks like it's using Discord as well for C2. That's not our Discord, by the way. So that's not our Discord. But it's downloading from discordapp.com. I hope Discord knows that and can shut that one down. I wonder if there's a way to tell which Discord that's coming from. Yeah, definitely using Discord app, Discord for command and control for C2. Yes, process start, so it's storing it in program data 1.exe, also program data dropper.exe. So there's the 2 of those. The beacon, which is 1.exe, goes out to forks and then pulls down from Discord the attachments. It'd be nice if Discord could knock those offline. That's a shame. That's too bad. It'd be nice. HTTP, you got IP address being used only. That could be a way to block things too. If the 4584.0.116 might be a way. If it doesn't resolve to a DNS, you might look at that and go, that looks a little shady, and be able to block that if you're seeing things going out to IP addresses that don't have, they don't resolve to anything, because it looks like that this IP address doesn't resolve to anything. It just has /i/p/m. I'm not saying every URL would be this way, but if you had some kind of rule to look up, this doesn't resolve, and it has a /p or a single letter for your URL, it might be something to look at. Of course, that would be a one-off rule. If you know you're being infected, or you've been infected by one of these things, you could go in and block anything outbound to this IP or to the anything with a URL that looks like that. So. All executables in the campaign are packed on the Themida tool, which protects them from reverse engineering, detection, and analysis. So it's the obfuscation. I think we've talked about this in the past, or maybe we haven't, but I know we've talked about some malware, at least on the show. Obfuscation is a thing. Yeah, we did on one of the Try Hack Me things, where everything was in a single line and it made it difficult to do, and you had to prettify the JavaScript. They do that too. They prettify JavaScript. They put in obfuscators, and if we go to the Metasploit module in Try Hack Me at some point, or we go to the Hack the Box module, and there's something about Metasploit, I'm sure you're going to be creating payloads and using things like Shikataganai or something like that to, and if Shikataganai is old school, and that's what I grew up on as being the encoder, or the end payload encoder that is resists a lot of detection mechanisms. So there might be newer versions and newer things out there that do a better job, but that was the one that I always grew up with. Everything's written in Go. That's pretty cool. Cross-platform, so that makes it easy. Cross-platform means they can compile it for Windows, Linux, and Mac with no problems, and it will run as an exe or a Linux executable, or a Mac OS executable. So has minimal footprint and low AV detection rates. Yep. Yeah. The other thing I'd heard about on Risky Business is a lot of these things are actually, they're buying Cobalt Strike licenses, but they're also buying like AV and EDR licenses from resellers, and using those to test their stuff to make sure that it works and is legitimate. So it's kind of an interesting, thing, because I mean, they're going to spend a couple, $10,000-$20,000 on licenses for EDR and XDR and all those, but they're going to make millions back. So it's pretty much the cost of doing business, making sure that you can, work against what's out there and get around EDR detection mechanisms. Excuse me. Capabilities of the two tools recover network recon, command execution, and file operations, so that the fact that both are deployed in the same system is likely done for redundancy. Right. You find one, but maybe not the other. Graph steal, gather host names, usernames, IP address, execute commands, steal account creds, use WebSocket and GraphQL to communicate to C2 using AES and base 64 is not encryption, people. Who the hell wrote this? Come on, Bill. Do better, man. Bill Toulis. Do better. It's AES encryption and base 64 encoding. Do better. Anyway. Gather IP address, host name, OS, user, home dir, directory, home directory. Execute commands received remotely and return results C2. Yeah. And it looks like, as we said, looks like they might be using Discord for C2, which is not unheard of. I mean, we did a podcast where somebody had created a Slack C2 bot. I mean, you could use anything for C2. I think I had heard once people were using like old school mailing lists or old school web forums or something like that. I mean, it's not unheard of. People using C2 in their SIGs or something. It looks completely innocuous, but the bot knows to go look for www.webforum.org/user/Bob, and then it's going to do a search for, do a grep for this piece of text inside of the website and, execute whatever command you find there or something. I mean, it looks like a legitimate website, so there's no reason to doubt it. Attribution, given the current situation in Ukraine. I don't want to make assumptions here. So this person is saying, yeah, let's make sure, let's say the Russians did it. They say Ukrainian CERT associates the detected activity with UAC 0056 group with medium confidence, which means they aren't completely sure either. They're medium confidence, 0056, known as Lorik 53, is a sophisticated Russian-speaking APT, right? That uses a combination of phishing emails and backdoors to collect information. Spotted ramping up its phishing distro and network compromise efforts in Ukraine in 2021 December. Was also attacking Georgian government agencies with phishing lures in the past. Okay, well, if that is the case, and it is Lorik 53, and they are attacking the Georgian government and Ukraine, it could be, walks like a bear, talks like a bear, might be a bear. So, but yeah. So the other story that I had, not to add or pile on to Cobalt Strike, but eSecurity Planet had an article about why Cobalt Strike has become a favorite tool of hackers. And it was created a decade ago by Mudge. Mudge is one of the, I would say Mudge and Loft are probably as close you're going to get to the original movie Hackers as you're going to get in real life. So it's a tool for security professionals. It is a tool, when used by folks like Mudge, in the right hands, for good. But in the hands of others, it is obviously a weapon, not a weapon. It is a tool that could be used or misused or abused, depending on who in whose hand it is. So, Cobalt Strike is now owned by Help Systems. Provides various packages and tools to detect outdated software, generate malware, test points, or run spear phishing campaigns that maximize success rates. In other words, emulates adversarial techniques. That's the key. It emulates all adversarial techniques, including sophisticated ones. Tool is so powerful, Black Hat, bad actors and international threat groups have added it to their arsenal. They've even created a Linux version. I remember that. They said they had ported it over to Linux, which actually took quite a bit of doing because I believe it only ran on Windows at the time. So the droppers and the payloads and the stuff, they've updated it to run with Linux. So recent column by Bryan Krebs described the links the Conti ransomware group went to acquire a legitimate. There we go. So yeah. Some of the discussion that Bryan Krebs had talked about. I don't know if he mentioned it on his website. Let me go see a recent column. Okay, yeah. So Krebs on security, he did actually talk about Conti and the weaponry used. Oh, okay. So yeah, this was part of his 4-part discussion with Risky Business about Conti ransomware group diaries, part 3 of 4. So there's 4 of those. If people are interested in reading that, I will post that up into the chat, so everybody can take a look at that. Yeah, so let's see. Reshev, he does a real good job of putting a lot of stuff together. I would say he's better than 90% right usually. There are some times where it does appear that there is some supposition, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, he is correct. And Cobalt Strike headlines, attacks make headlines, right? Security researchers found Cobalt Strike payloads in SQL servers, Microsoft SQL servers, not to be confused with Postgres or MySQL or MariaDB or what have you. After gaining unauthorized access, they implanted the payload into a legitimate DLL, WWANMM.dll, to avoid memory-based detection. Okay. At some point, I know we will. There are exercises on injecting things into DLLs and the different ways you can do DLL injection. Anybody had any experience using Cobalt Strike in chat? Anybody have a license of it and use it on the reg? Let's see what we got going on here. No? No, Queensa? No. Yeah, you have to pay for it, but like they said, there is a free version of it. I don't know how hamstrung it is. And welcome, Queensa. Thank you for hanging out. Yeah, so there's a ton of places to go. Ransomware Group, the exfiltrated San Francisco 49ers, the American football team for the NFC West. Demanded a ransom, exploiting a vulnerability in Exchange servers. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it's such a good tool. It's hard to detect. Beacon or the payload provided by Cobalt Strike can be installed as a client, as we saw from the previous article. Click on this and download this Windows update, and install it, and pretty much you've installed their dropper or their payload for them. And it will beacon and allow for uploading of files and sending command and control instructions. And then, of course, the C2 protocol is a DNS based, pretty hard to detect compared to classic HTTP. I wonder how like DNS over TLS or DNS over HTTPS will affect Cobalt Strike in the future, because it is hard to do DNS, look for DNS-based communication for lookups and such. But once you start hiding it in an encrypted tunnel like TLS, it's going to be even more difficult. Hey, no problem, Queens. I'm glad you were able to join us today. I'm gonna, like I said, I was gonna wait for AJ to get on Wednesday, so we will be doing. We're gonna go back and look through some of the ones that he had issues with on Try Hack Me, but also, go through and do some more, maybe catch up a little bit with what he's doing, so he can explain and walk us through on some of the lessons that he's been doing. So, so yeah. Cobalt Strike payloads are usually shellcode encrypted with an XOR key. Cool, awesome. Yeah, so they call it fileless code. As we saw in the previous article, it adds things like registry keys. It will load the registry keys into memory when the machine starts up, and then you can't find it anywhere on the hard drive. It's hiding somewhere in memory. Mr. Betcher and Michael Goff, Hacker Hurricane. If you follow them on Twitter, you can pick their brain about things like fileless malware and their thoughts about that. Hacker Hurricane. There you go. Michael Goff, they created the Windows logging cheat sheets, and malwarearchaeology.com. Malware archaeology. The only reason I know how to spell archaeology is because I have to type in malware archaeology every once in a while. So yeah, they and you know, like they said, it's Cobalt Strike is eminently versatile. Obviously, they had more than one payload in the article that we talked about, and by default, Cobalt Strike leverages run DLL32 for command execution. You know, it likes to live off the land a little bit, so it uses what's already available there to you know, get itself and move itself around. It is a premium product. However, unlike Metasploit, there is a free community edition called Community Kit. However, like Metasploit, okay, yeah. So there's a free version of Cobalt Strike. There's a free version of Metasploit. Hackers use the old leaked versions of the software to create their own version and port it on unsupported systems. Yeah, talked about the software being leaked a while ago. But yeah, I mean, there's that's the problem I have with a lot of these, you know, pieces of software. The first thing I ask when somebody shows a new tool at a conference or something, the first thing I think of is, well, how's a bad guy going to use that? And often what I like to ask of people who create these tools is, okay, great, you've created this brand new widget that does X for you, and you've automated the process, and it's awesome. How do you detect your own tool? And I would say I've asked this probably more than 10 times when I've gone to conferences. I've always asked them after the fact. I would say greater than 80% are like, yeah, they don't know. They don't even think about that. They don't even go that far with that. Or there are a couple that memory fails me right now, but you know, they create something without thinking about the monster they're about to unleash, and they just don't seem to care sometimes. So it's unfortunate, really. In the effort to create the next cool thing, you've also, you know, created your own Frankenstein. So let's see, what else do we have? I'm afraid we're gonna have to cut it a bit short today. I was supposed to be on at 3:30, but you know, family come first, and I had to go pick up my child at the bus stop because it was pouring down rain today. So weird. Let me see. Canadian cops arrest teen cyber attack suspect. Oh. What did the teen do? Let's see. Police in Manitoba have arrested an 18-year-old man on suspicion of carrying out cyber attacks across North America. Dane Parrott Jones of Brandon was taken into custody following an 11-month investigation by FBI and police forces in America and Canada. Oh, he did DDoS attacks with a co-conspirator in San Antonio. Okay. 24-year-old girlfriend of his who shares a home was also arrested, but not in connection with the alleged cyber crimes. They found weed in his house. Okay, so that's beside the point. Search warrant. Okay. Okay, so he did some DDoS attacks, and then it really switches over to, oh yeah, they found a lot of drugs and well, they found weed in his house, and they also found some cocaine and gun parts and bullets and gunpowder and primers. Okay, so he makes his own bullets. He was 3D printing weapons. Okay, that's, you know, that is definitely a thing. Yeah. There's not much there. Let me see what else. Anybody have any news they want to talk about? Let's see. Microsoft removes update block for VirtualBox users. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit about this one last night. I wanted to see if there was any updates on this. Cybersecurity incident at Ubisoft disrupts operations, company-wide password reset. Is there any updates? Group later threatened to leak, responding to additional queries from Daily Swig. We do not have additional information here at the moment. Okay, so they're still trying to figure out the extent of the damage. I think probably. As we talked about this on last night, Ubisoft, of course, makes video games. There's been a spate of ransomware and attacks on gaming companies, NVIDIA, Ubisoft. What was the other one? There was NVIDIA. There was Samsung, of course. And then, of course, Lapsus, we talked about earlier in the month when NVIDIA got hacked. They also are taking credit for this one on Telegram. So hopefully we'll be able to hear more about this. They said it was a temporary disruption to some game systems and services. IT team is working with external experts to investigate. Precautionary measure, we initiated a company-wide password reset. So they did it. I don't know, as we talked about last night, I'm not sure if the precautionary measure was because maybe they got access to company passwords or an employee's passwords and was using that to, gain an initial foothold, which is why they, initiated the company-wide reset, or could be something as simple as somebody accidentally uploaded creds somewhere, or password reuse is high on the list of ways you can gain access to people's accounts. Let's see what else. I can close that one. Yeah, it doesn't have to be smart and sophisticated. It just has to work. I learned that from listening to John Strand many years ago on Paul Security Weekly. Doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs to work. Why technology alone will never equal cyber secure. I don't even know what that word is. Okay. Let's see. A lot of healthcare providers need to increase budget for cybersecurity. Well, I mean, increase it from what to what, though? Because we talked about this last night as well. Roughly 15% of budget in 2020 from an IT budget went to security. 15%. So anywhere between depending on large companies, there's $250,000 to $1 million, depending on the budget for that. 91 health organizations suffered ransom attacks in 2020. These attacks affected the data of 18 million patients and cost $9.42 million on average. Really? I expected that to be worth more. When I worked for the healthcare auditor, the CEO there was fond of saying that a health record costs is worth about $50 on average, and that was 10 years ago. I don't know if it's still the same, but I do remember at that time that was when credit cards were still fairly. You could find like 1,000 of them for like $20 or something on the dark market. Health records were quite a bit more expensive, only because I could imagine it dealt with things like being able to do blackmail or extortion or something like that. But yeah. They're saying, despite how widespread and evident this issue has become, the industry hasn't put much money towards fixing it. Only 22% of IT managers are confident that their organization is giving them enough funds to secure their systems. The pessimist in me says those 22% aren't, aware of what's really going on in their systems. But budget reflects this. 59% of healthcare orgs plan to increase their cybersecurity budgets this year. These changes are relatively small. Most of these that plan on raising budgets will only do so by less than 10%, and only 11% plan on increasing it by 25% or more. This is very much akin to when we were talking with the gentleman from the K-12-6 ISAC, which is an information sharing organization for higher education, for elementary schools and such. And we've had other people from education security orgs before on. If you raise the amount of budget for an organization or school or something like that, and you say, well, okay, we'll give you another $100,000 for security or IT. $100,000 could be 2 more teachers, which is sad because that's $50,000 a teacher. But the grand scheme of things, they're there to save lives, being healthcare, or educate children. That's what school and hospitals are about. And for the longest time, they haven't really thought about, well, what happens if there was an attack? Because who would want to attack a hospital? Who would want to attack a school? As we have seen with the Ukraine-Russia incursion of Russia, cybersecurity attacks are indiscriminate. They're attacking anything and everything that has an IP address connected to it. And there's going to be some blood spatter in this case in terms of, oh, well, we hit something maybe we weren't supposed to hit, or, thank you, St. Michael, STM1CH43L, St. Michael. Thank you for following us there. But yeah, I mean, IP addresses, they don't discriminate at that point. It's an IP address. It's a service that's connected, exposed to the internet, and they're going to hit it. Whether it be a fintech company, government organization, a hospital, a school, whatever. It doesn't matter. And sometimes you do hear stories of where bad guys said, "Oh, our bad. We'll unlock you because you're a hospital." But other times it's like, whatever, pay us the money or we're going to delete all your patient files. So one of the most significant security improvements healthcare organizations can make is also the cheapest. Training. Talked about that last night. I have a very low opinion of security training and security awareness training. It's a checkbox thing, and I think some of you were on last night and had heard the same thing. But not to belittle the point, but if you're taking 20 minutes out of a year to teach people security stuff, unless you're teaching it to them on the reg, they're gonna forget that stuff just as soon as they finish up. Because one, they don't want to do it; it's a waste of 20 minutes of their time, and they're just gonna click through and try to solve it as many times as they can. They really, I don't believe it's effective, but what are you going to do? They want to get back to their work, saving people or, teaching children or whatever. They don't want to have to deal with that. So healthcare faces many stresses. Cybersecurity is one of the most prominent. When providers see how big this issue is, security budgets could start rising and cybercrime epidemic will fade. No, it won't fade. No, it won't. That is true. The industry will never be fully rid of cybercrime, but increasing security spending is a good start. Yeah. I think the only thing is you don't want to just throw money at things. Hey, St. Michael, thank you for engaging and chatting. Didn't USA update their policy that attacks to critical infrastructure is essentially war, and USA will respond with kinetic force? I don't know. There are so many things out there that have been classified as critical infrastructure. I don't know if there is anything that isn't that way. I also know responding to a cyber attack with warheads on foreheads is probably not the best idea. I'm not certain of when the policy was updated or if that's the case, but if they do something that disrupts the area, the problem with this being essentially war is who are you going to war with? You may be going to war with, Joe Bob Billy, who lives in San Antonio, whose 16-year-old son just ran a DDoS on something and crashed the control systems in a dam. Are you going to put warheads on foreheads in San Antonio? Probably not. You really have, and attribution is hard enough as it is. I mean, nowadays, as we mentioned earlier, if it's an attack in Ukraine, and they attribute the same attacks to Georgian government official websites, maybe you can, surmise that it's a certain threat actor. But who are you going to attack? Are you going to attack the whole country? Are you going to attack certain people inside of it? That's, I mean, you really have to watch when you say that. So many criminal organizations are working for foreign nations and are shielded by them so they can carry out their attacks. That is a very true statement. So who do you attack? The country shielding them, or the organization themselves? In many cases, they don't do very good OPSEC, or maybe the good guys, and I'm using quotey fingers, the good guys are already inside of these criminal organizations, and they're just biding their time to make sure that they own up these folks. So I mean, I've listened to several podcasts where you hear stories about, well, they were so deep inside of the criminal organization they could actually watch the webcams behind the people as they were hacking all day. So my worry with that is you attack Nigeria, for instance, to get the 419 scammers, or you attack money laundering organizations that are running out of France or something like that. Are you going to bomb France? Are you going to bomb Nigeria? I don't see those as being a thing. You really have to think about where you're going to put your cyber warheads or whatever those things are. So not cyber warhead, the person in our chat, but how are you going to deploy your assets and resources to be the most effective for that? Not every nail needs a hammer in this case. So, but yeah. And of course, I did not have a political science degree, so I am a poor substitute for foreign policy. Nobody has called me up yet to make me ambassador of any country. If they do, I hope it's a good one, like maybe Malaysia or something like that, where we can go to the beach. So let me see here. Let's see what else. I think we got time for one more here. Reverse engineering a USB driver. Wow. Okay. VPN provider bans BitTorrent. No shit. No Logs VPN provider TorGuard reached a legal settlement with over 24 movie studios that sued the company for encouraging privacy and copyright infringement. Oh, that's too bad. TorGuard has agreed to block BitTorrent traffic for its users. Okay. VPN provider Liquid VPN, according to documents obtained by Bleeping Computer, both the film studios and VPN Networks LLC, doing business as TorGuard, have now agreed to reach a settlement. They will use commercially reasonable efforts to block BitTorrent traffic on its servers in the United States using firewall technology. Interesting. So VPN.ht also settled with same plaintiffs after fighting a legal battle and agreed to block BitTorrent and logs traffic on its U.S. servers. I wonder how they're doing that, because if you enable encryption on BitTorrent, do you still see the protocol traffic saying that it is a BitTorrent packet, or are you sending it over TLS that way? Several other VPN companies, including Surfshark, ZenMate, Pia, ExpressVPN, and VPN Unlimited, were also targeted. Okay. TorGuard blames host for ignoring over 100,000 privacy notices. What do the privacy notices look like? Oh, okay. So they also they had detailed instructions how its proxy servers could be configured by customers who work with existing BitTorrent clients. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that's one SOP on how to bypass a little too far. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Okay. Note, unlike with VPNs, traffic routed through SOCs is by default unencrypted, making it impossible for intermediary host providers to gain visibility. Yeah. Yeah, I do know that when I use BitTorrent for my legitimate ISO Linux downloads, I always require encryption on my downloads. Only Debian downloads, Debian ISO downloads for me. So because traffic on TorGuard's servers are not encrypted, Quadranet could have used conventional network monitoring tools to capture data packets for the privacy. Yep, yep. Film studios argue network monitoring technologies like DPI or deep packet inspection could have been used to respond to privacy notices and block infringing flows. So what they're hoping is that TorGuard and others can intercept the TLS, decrypt it potentially, and do packet inspection that way. So TorGuard values the intellectual property rights of others as stated in TorGuard's publicly posted policies. Had Quadranet sent these notices to our DMCA client, TorGuard's ordinary business practices would have been immediately taking steps to stop further privacy. So it said TorGuard just basically said, oh, they sent it to the wrong email address. Our bad. So you should have sent it to, DMCA takedown at TorGuard instead of, webmaster at or something like that. So when TorGuard notified Quadranet it was terminating its relationship with the hosting provider, Quadranet tried to persuade TorGuard to continue service by offering different terms. Where are you going? Where are you going? Oh, my bad. It's common practice in the hosting industry for a provider to null route a subscriber's IP address, effectively terminating the network connection where it has received multiple notices of copyright infringement. If Quadranet had nulled one of the IP addresses assigned to TorGuard, we would have taken immediate steps. Okay, so Quadranet ignored the privacy notices, or again, it was sent to webmaster at Quadranet instead of DMCA takedowns at. And TorGuard just kept going on like nothing was wrong until, they finally got sued and it was like, WTF. So, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. As such, the court had to dismiss the lawsuit and side with Quadranet, who claimed it had no visibility into encrypted VPN traffic and was never aware of the end user's online activity on its servers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if the VPNs are encrypted, Quadranet has no way of noticing or being able to tell if what was going on inside the traffic. So, yeah, there you go. So TorGuard now is going to be blocking unencrypted BitTorrent traffic now. So any unencrypted BitTorrent traffic should be blocked if you use TorGuard. Anyway. Okay, well, I think that's all I've got time for today. I do appreciate everybody who was able to get on. I do thank St. Michael for following. Hope St. Michael will come back and join our Discord. If St. Michael or Cyber Tech Vibes or Repeller or CyberSec Diva want to get on with that, please feel free to join the Discord invite, which is further up in chat. I will see if I can paste it again. There you go. You can use that link to join our Discord. We have a number of channels on there. We have moderation. We have various channels for mental health, OSINT, and social engineering, offense, defense, and other things as well. So we've got some channels for gaming. I'm working on getting our RPGs set up, because we like to work hard on InfoSec, but we also like to play. So we're going to be doing some other content other than just security related items in the near future. So, hope everyone has a good day. We'll be back tomorrow. I may go through some of the LFI and RFI stuff just, to keep moving on forward on the Try Hack Me items. And hope everyone has a good day, rest of their day, and stay safe. And we'll talk soon.